What's going on, everybody? It's your boy King Gabe here with another history video. It's been a while since I did one of these, but here we are again. I've had history of practically all my plush toys that are gonna be in Yumiko. Obviously, there's gonna be there's other characters too. Within the anthropomorphic animal side, which that's what my plush toys are sort of representatives of, the anthropomorphic animals. Basically the ones I have are pretty much most of your main ones. They're like Brownie, Emily, and Dashtail. I'm starting to forget like Jack Williams, Dashtail, Billy, as well as also Anna. And the only one I did not cover, of course, was Gerald, because there wasn't really much to say on him, because I didn't really, because unlike the previous plush toys, I didn't really have much to make a video on that, because I mean I just basically had got Gerald for some, I think it was basically it was I think I got Gerald from like the zoo at one point, like the I think like the souvenir thing at the alligator park. Yeah, so I think that's where I got him. But I didn't really do much with him like the other plush toys. So yeah, kind of. But he's in the story, so I guess most of his history will come as the story goes on, and kind of develop what his character will be like in the story. So there will be that. And now I started with the human characters, where you got Hiko Makuro, of course, definitely got him, and of course there was also Samuel E. Princeton, uh, who we all know. If you don't know yet, uh, will definitely become the Star Striker, the Shreveport Defender. Um, so yeah, there's good. And I just moved something out of order. I really hate when that happens there. Yeah. So yeah, the only two human characters that have been done so far is Hiko and Samuel. So today we're going to be doing the history of Brian Valentino Robinson. Yep, that's his full name. That middle name actually was something that kind of came recently. I think. Well, I think ever since Heroes of Dreams. Yeah, ever since Heroes of Dreams, he's had that as his middle name. It was the fact that his mom gave him that middle name, Valentino. Yeah, because she liked Valentine. Because he was actually born. His birthday is actually around Valentine's Day. So there's that. So yeah, there's that, and then of course there's going to be other characters coming up. Before we go too far into the video, as well as a little bit more I gotta say before starting this. Before we go too far, definitely big shout out to EJ the Supreme for being our Patreon, as well as also Keon Smith for being a sponsor for this month. There, we still in this month of December. So yeah, definitely EJ and Keon, definitely shout out to them, and also as well as you guys. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. Get some of our available comic books, and be a Patreon like EJ, or a sponsor like Keon, or be like both. Either way, definitely would appreciate that there. So now that we've covered that aspect, on with say a few things I gotta say before going into about Brian. Um, the proofing for the first book, for the first Yumiko book, um, I'm pretty sure it probably has not. Now I have finished the rough draft, and I did, give it to my proofer. But more than likely the proofing is probably not gonna start until probably at some point after the new year has come in. Because we're still kind of a holiday rush. I know we've had Christmas and everything. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. But we still got New Year as of when this video is being made. We still got New Year's in a couple more days. So more than likely after the New Year's come in and things kind of settle down, with the holiday craze in general, I'm pretty sure the proofing will begin by then if it hasn't already started. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's a little proofing that's been done, but my assumption is more than likely that it probably won't begin until after the holidays are done. However, I have started a little bit on the second book. Just to let you know, I got like the first chapter of book number 2, which is a continuation from book number 1. There are a few things that I originally had stated that would come up possibly in that book as well as the few other books to come that might possibly change. I mean, so yeah, just letting you know, changes as we go along in the writing process are liable to happen. So that's one reason why we have the updates, to keep you guys posted when things like that happen. So it'd be like, well, you said this. Well, yes, I did, and now I'm saying this. So that way, you can know, okay, yeah, maybe, okay, well, he did say that, but now, he kind of changed his mind, sort of like in the greatest adventure stories from the Bible, that scene where I think was it the hold on one second there. The scene where after the plague of frogs, the Pharaoh said, well, take the frogs away and I'll let your people go tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, and one of the soldiers was like, "All y'all get back to work." He's like, "But yesterday he agreed to our departure." Well, he changed his mind. To work, slaves. Yeah. So, but except I'm not that guy though. It's just changing ideas in the story though. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, but just giving y'all a heads up on that, first chapter, book 2 is being written, so yeah, there will be updates coming up on that, as well as also possibly updates on the proofing when it's done, kind of, where it's a possibility I might do an update on that there, and going into the publishing for the first book, to keep y'all updated there. Just all depends there. So, yep, that's what's going on. And so now, let's move in to my boy Brian there. So, excuse me one second there. Okay, sorry about that interruption. So anyway, history of Brian Valentino Robinson. Okay, sorry about that interruption. So, introduction of Brian Valentino Robinson. Let's get into it. Okay, so of course there's a few things that will probably be said in this video that may have been previously said in the History of Samuel video, because of course, Samuel and Brian, buddies, Star Striker and Target, they sort of like Static and Gear, obviously. So yeah, pretty tight with each other. So yeah, obviously there's gonna be some things that will be repeated from the History of Samuel L. Princeton, but there are some different things that will be said mixed in the mix. So sort of like those flashback scenes you see in a lot of different shows like Yu-Gi-Oh, when they always have the flashbacks, depending on what be going on, and then you're thinking like, oh wait, I've seen this before. Then something different comes on, and you might miss it. So yeah, that's why I say always pay attention. So anyway, so of course, like Samuel, aka Star Striker, Brian, of course, 2004 Star Striker and Target series. in that series, yeah, he was definitely uh, pretty much, you know, buddies with Samuel. In the only difference was, unlike where Virgil and Richie were the same age, um, he was actually 9 and Samuel was, of course, 14. This was because the first time I imagined Brian, he was based off of one of my church members back then, and I knew who actually was younger than me, and I think he was in elementary. At that time, I was like, in 2004, I was like 16, but of course, the character Samuel was 14. Um, but much like, and I'm not completely sure exactly what his age was, the church member I based Brian off of. But like I say, yeah, I just made Brian 9, so it is elementary age. So yeah, it would that's what. But despite his age, um, he was such a super genius that he actually was able to skip past middle school and be enrolled in high school as a freshman with Samuel at 9 years old. So they both were at the same school. So this is how they both be at the same school. Um, he was the first one that Samuel told about, like, hey, I got these superpowers, and hey, he had to took help Samuel get a costume together to become Star Striker. Then after the Star Striker debut, Brian decided he would join in with Star Striker as a superhero of his own. Um, the day that he was working on his costume, there was a blackout at the Walmart Supercenter. Star Striker got was at a disadvantage in it because he got cut off from the lights as well as the sunlight, where he couldn't get any energy for his solar powers. And that's when Brian came in as Target for the first time to help him out. The first Target suit was actually all black, with I think with some red details on it, like the red Target symbol on it. Um, Pretty much, sort of like the like you go to Target, you know. So yeah, um, so yeah, definitely was like I mentioned, just like how Star Striker was inspired by Static Shock, Target was inspired by Gear. That the one what Richie became in Static Shock. Um, so now you got Star Striker and Target, um, fighting crime fighting duo, sort of like Batman and Robin there, and or I guess technically since because of the age is a little different because they're more like a big brother and little brother, um, whereas Batman and Robin was more like a father and a son, with pretty much all his Robin, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and of course, obviously Damian Wayne. Yeah, that's been recently being shown a lot. So, yeah, pretty much. But in Star Trek and Target's case, it's more like brothers. Um, so they fought against different criminals and everything. The evil forces of Octorus and his family. Um, and then of course, as time went on, um, they got the addition of other heroes like Sword Girl and Bubble Girl and who we all know later become Bubblina, uh, that Christina writes for now, as well as also Vanda Max and so on and so on. We'll be getting to those characters. Those characters will come soon. Um, so let's see a little bit more about just Brian himself. Well, uh, there was one moment in the Star Trek series where Brian actually built a time machine because because Samuel was feeling bad about a shooting that had occurred at the fairgrounds. Um, and one of his old friends was involved in it, and he wanted to go back and do something about it. This was actually something in reality that had happened around this time that was pretty devastated about at the time. There was in 2004 there was a in real life, the fairgrounds we have out here, where we have the fair come every year, uh, pretty much like a really giant carnival, the state fair. So the thing was, at the fairgrounds, where they hold it at, uh, there was some gang activity going on there, and an old friend of mine from my old church that actually we practically had known each other ever since we were like toddlers, um, and when so but he was a little older than I was, so yeah, ever since I was a toddler, because reason I say that because I saw him in some pictures from my baby book when I at my fourth birthday party at McDonald's. So yeah, so anyway, this old friend of mine, when we were in when I when I was around that time, 2004, that was the last time that I actually had was kind of hearing from him. He was he did come to church a few times, but there were some times that he wasn't there, and there was some things kind of going on, between him and his family, um, and yeah, the it kind of, I guess you could say one of them teen rebel kind of things, that whole, it kind of varies depending on the person. In his case, he was getting involved in gangs there and everything, and as far as I know, this is what, now I don't know the full detail of what all happened, but as far as I know, he had something had happened between him and a gang leader, some kind of dispute, and he decided to take things into his own hands. They went down to the fairground, pretty much like go at each other, and he was he was going to, um, like you say, take a shot at the gang leader. And when I say take a shot, like actually with a gun, um, sort of make me think of that gun episode in Static Shock, Jimmy. Yeah. So he was going to shoot the gang leader, but he missed, and the bullet missed, and it ended up hitting an innocent bystander, um, taking his life. Um, it was another teenager that just happened to be walking by that area. Didn't have anything to do with this, and it just killed them. Um, Sort of similar to someone else's life that was taken about a year or two ago. Um, right by my old elementary school, that was really tragic. Um, so what happened? What happened as a result of that? The next day, I don't know what all else had been going on with my old buddy, but the police came looking for him, and they was searching his grandmother's house. Really scared her and everything. I mean, they just busted in with the search warrant and everything, and eventually they got a hold of him, and sadly he was arrested. Um, and like I said, that was the last that any of us have heard from him. We're not sure what has come of him lately. I mean, I'm hope. I mean, he's could be possibly, out, and I would assume, trying to make his life better and everything. But I don't know where he's gone and everything. As far as that, if he is out. So, but that was the last I ever heard of him. But when this happened, and I heard that he had got arrested, yeah, I was really upset about this, because, like I say, I grew up with this guy, and we was really tight for a long time. Again, like I say, ever since I was a toddler, and I remember one day I was talking. Um, I remember one day, uh, I think like the day after I found out about this, and was really and like I say, was really upset and sad about it. I was at school, sitting at lunch, and there was a girl that I had been talking to around this time. That real not real really nice and sweet. And she came up, and so we were sitting. So she usually I would go over and sit with her. Um, so she noticed I didn't come over to sit with her, and she was like, "What's going on?" So she comes over to me and like, "Gabe, you okay? What's wrong?" And I told her about what happened there and everything, and yeah. So yeah, that's basic. So based off of that, that's in going back with Star Trek and Target series with Brian. Um, so I wrote this into an episode or a story because it's not on TV yet, where Samuel wanted to go back in time and prevent his friend from being arrested, or better yet, prevent him from getting into any of this that would lead to him being arrested. So Brian built a time machine where they could go back and get now in the Star Trek and Target series, Samuel's friend was named Nate Daniel, like one of the I I think he was some. I remember hearing his name in the Bible once. My uncle Ricky preached about had preached about him one time. I think he said one of the disciples had Philip had ran and told. It was like, Nate Daniel, I found the Messiah that Moses was talking about. And Philip, how can you introduce me to somebody when you don't know who I am, huh? So, yeah, that was the first time I've heard that name. And also, no, wait, that was okay. That was the first time I heard that name. It was a name similar to that name, Dathan, but that was the Hebrew overseer in the Ten Commandments movie. Yeah, he was sort of the snitch. Yeah. So, anywho, so Nathaniel, uh, so Brian helped build a time machine for them to go back in time and stop Nathaniel from even going to the gang war in general, and prevent him from getting involved in it. Therefore, he was not, didn't lead to any arrest or anything. But when they came back to the present, you know how they always say when you change something in the past, it affects something in the present and future. The whole change of the time stream. Well, the change had occurred. That was a bit of a consequence. Was that some of the gang members had got involved in something that led to two of them getting superpowers, thus creating red fire and blue fire. And yeah, there was that. And but that Nathaniel, as a result of the time stream change, ended up becoming this was the first introduction of Power Eagle. So yeah, he ended up. So that's how he ended up getting into involved in all that, all because of Brian Robinson's time machine. So yeah, so that was kind of the biggest impact with that. So now moving along, out of the Star Trek and Target series, go into Heroes. Oh, before Heroes of Dreams. When I called I think there was a time when I tried to write sort of a dark version of Heroes of Dreams before the official series that got published. In that there was going to be where it was going to be that Brian, aka Target, or better yet, there was also versions of him called Tracker. That name kind of came about from lady that used to, back when I not only had hair but also had my hair in the dreadlocks. I know that's probably hard to believe. No, you ain't have no dreadlocks. I don't believe it. Nope, don't believe it one bit. Nope. That's a lie. Yeah, it's a lot to a lot of people who did not know me back in I'll say 2007. Anyone who didn't know me around 2007 to 2009, leading into 2010, probably would think that me having dreadlocks was a myth. Yeah, because there are some people who actually think that too. So, just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't believe me because I got, and it's as some people say, yeah, I get that a lot. So, yeah, to some people it is a myth, but I did have them though. Whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. Anyway, so, and they're probably gonna go in the comments section and say, wait, are you telling the truth? Are you telling the truth? So, yes, I better be prepared for that. So, anyway, the the lady who did my dreadlocks, she because I remember a lot of time I a lot of time, obviously, while doing Madrid, obviously we're gonna have conversations. So, yeah, there were conversations about, certain story ideas I'd be doing, and she was, and sorry about the shaking. So she was like, well, why don't you name Target Tracker? Have like an arrow on him. So there was a thought of that at one point of having Brian be Tracker. Um, I don't think that was something that ever went into full effect, but something I did do close to that was in a sort of a preparation of Heroes of Dreams and thinking it would be darker, was have Brian still as Target be sort of a bounty hunter, and he actually had a brother who was known as Tracker. Yeah, so, and his brother's civilian name was Mark. Uh, and I think I've heard some suggestions of why not call him the Mark. So yeah, I think Mark or Marcus, Marcus. So yeah, there were gonna be they were gonna be bounty hunters at first. Tracker and Marcus, Tracker and Target. I'm sorry, and also there was a possible addition of a sister named Radar. So Mark Mark, sorry, Tracker, Target, and Radar was gonna be a thing at one point. Yeah, kind of. They were and they were bounty hunters hunting down psychics like Sword Girl, which yeah, sort of had Star Striker in the middle of the crossfire between the two sides. So yeah, there was gonna be that. It was kind of an experiment there. So there was that. And then we, excuse me, then we got the Heroes of Dreams. In that one, Brian's introduction was first brought in the first book, of course, where Samuel was already Star Striker. He, dressed up as Star Striker and everything, and saved Brian from some bullies, using different stuff like toys as gadgets, and then eventually got this battle suit from the back-to-back agency that his dad worked for. Then this led to book number 2, where Brian was impressed by Star Striker and wanted to be his partner and everything, and they ended up going, and he ended up becoming that in the midst of him and Star Striker going up against this girl named Flora, which, of course, if you don't know already, is also a character that's in Yumiko. So there's gonna be, gonna be with that, as well as also two mutants that were working for Puma and Racker, a warthog mutant that was Pumo, and Rat. All sounds similar to Pumbaa. Hey, Kaboom! I think I got a spot in Heroes of Dreams! Pumbaa! Not in front of the kids! Oh, sorry. And Racker, who was a mutant pack rat. kind of, almost kind of similar. It's almost like having an evil Timon and Pumbaa. So, Brian became Target, and they went up against them, along with their daddy, who became a mutant T-Rex, known as Rexon Carter, with the voice of Beast Wars Megatron. Yes. Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. Do you always have to say yes? No. So yeah, there was that's how Target debuted in Heroes of Dreams. You figure you know it's getting annoying. And then of course, series went on, introduced Sword Girl. This time instead of Bubble Girl, this was the debut of Bubbleina for the first time. Then of course Venom X, and then Enter the Dream League. Um, and then and of course there was Brian, of course, invented a lot of different things throughout these books. He had a lot of different inventions and gadgets, much like his Star Striker and Target. Um, in book number 3, when they were dealing with Sword Girl, that what Brian had built a psychic helmet, which not just which Christina and a few other people have looked at that picture of him with this helmet, and the first thing came to their mind was Professor Xavier in the live action X-Men movies. Like when he had that cerebral thing, um, to try to find other mutants and stuff, locate them when they were looking for Rogue. So in this case, he was trying to track down Sword Girl through her psychic energy and communicate with her. He was also able to, speaking of communication, he was also the only one that was able to understand Sword Girl, because when they first met her, she was only speaking in Japanese and didn't know English. So Brian was the only one that, yeah, because he also knew Japanese. Um, and then at the end of the book, Sword Girl was instantly able to speak English. Um, One other thing I forgot to mention. So like I mentioned, Brian in Star Trek and Target series, younger than Star Striker. Star Striker was 14, Brian, aka Target, was 9. Uh, but in the Heroes of Dreams, there were two different versions before the actual books got published. One where Star Striker was still going to be a teenager and Brian would be a kid as well, like would be in elementary 9. But in Heroes of Dreams official published series, as well as another version experimenting before it, both Samuel and Brian were the same age, which was 8 years old. So in Heroes of Dreams, yeah, they are 8 years old. The official published series, um, yeah, they're both 8, and um, unlike Star Trek and Target, where he was based off one of my church members, in the Heroes of Dreams series, Bryant was based off of a friend of mine that I used to work with. That used to be one of my coworkers at Kroger. Real good friend of mine. Um, and because he was really light skinned there, kind of made Brian light skinned as well. In addition, sort of an addition I made to the character was I made him biracial. So his father was African American and his mother was Caucasian. So that's resulted in Brian being mixed. So it was a little something different I did with the character. Um, so and his parents, of course, and that was also the first time his parents were introduced in Heroes of Dreams. Um, they were Derek and Deborah Robinson, and they also had a agency of their own called the Hunters Agency, which was something that kind of carried over from the experimental phase of Heroes of Dreams, which originally was the organization of the Assassins at first. When I mentioned about Target and his brother being assassins there. So instead of that, it was just another agency, much like Back to Back Agency. It was a Hunters Agency, and after book 2, they merged with Back to Back Agency, and so they could work together, just like their kids. Um, so with that, we continue. I think what more happened after that. There was also so okay. In okay, so in book number 7 of Heroes of Dreams, they meet a new kid, Riley, and his sister Zoe, which the the additions of these characters came from a kid that actually had been reading um, my previous books when I was in the midst of writing book number 6. Um, this kid, his mother, emailed me. They're like, "Hey, my kid, my son's been reading your books there, and he was wondering if he could be, in your story there." So once book 6 was completed, I worked on um, working her son into the story, um, which actually is the same name as the character. I just changed the last name. Yeah, so that's how we got Riley uh, as becoming the superhero Dashdale. The look. So yeah, I'm not sure if I think I may have mentioned that in History of Dashdale, but yeah. So yeah, might have possibly mentioned it just in case. Kind of give you a recap. For Heroes of Dreams, yeah, Dashdale, um, Riley had turned in the story. Riley ended up turning into an actual squirrel due to some mutagen he fell into, um, and also involved with some squirrels. And then when he changed back, he actually had superpowers of super speed, and even though he was changed back to human form, along with the super speed, he also still had the senses of a squirrel though, and thus he became the superhero Dashdale, or like a super speed squirrel. Um, and and also the type of squirrel he became was a red horned squirrel, because I actually looked this up. There actually are squirrels that are reddish orange. They're very rare though, but yeah, there's actually such thing as a reddish orange squirrel. Um, so now with Brian's involvement with this character, um, what happened was they were hanging out. This is what Brian had started wearing glasses, because the coworker that he was based off of was starting to wear glasses at this point. Um, so he got I think yeah, that's right. He got so he was hanging out with him and also another kid that would show up a little later in Heroes of Dreams uh, as a superhero. And yeah, I think he made the invention for Star Striker, where he could go at super speed like Dashdale, um, and the two of them were able to both defeat this enemy that they faced, which was a giant robot fusion of a lion, tiger, and a bear. Oh my! so so yeah, there was that. Getting sick of this yawning. Why does this always happen when I get ready to record? So I think that was pretty much. I think that's pretty much it with the involvement of Brian, other than him getting the anniversary book where he was able to got a new costume like everybody and every. So that's pretty much all I can think of with the involvement in Heroes of Dreams. Um, he was also in the Star Striker comic series. He where he was a new student in the first book along with Angela, and of course he had. And once him and Samuel started hanging out, uh, they got they ended up finding out about this real big lab he had, which it was a tree in his backyard, a very special tree that had an elevator inside to this big lab of his underground. Really big lab, by the way, and the tree was kind of going to be a little Easter egg hint at the base that later would be used for the Dream League. That I do plan to bring into Yumiko later down the road, much like I did in Heroes of Dreams. And with that, and Brian also had a butler in the Star Striker series named Chester, pretty much kind of a reference to Jeffrey from Fresh Prince. If you get yeah, pretty much like Jeffrey if you mixed him with Alfred in a blender from Batman. Yes, Master Brian. Right away. So, and it was also Brian had invented a digital AI sister named Mimi, with where she could also have and was he was working on also robotic bodies for android bodies for her. Um, yeah, so that she could go in and out of, and she also and his sister Mimi, his AI sister Mimi also could come in hologram form. Um, when she was in the lab, in Brian's laboratory, and pretty much had a little, as they say, sentience of her own there. Also, just like Heroes of Dream, Brian was biracial there as well. Yeah, African American dad and Caucasian mother. So, yeah, so he had all that going for him, and he sort he built he gave some equipment to Star Striker to use against some crooks at the news station when they were holding everybody hostage. One of them involving a magnet that was really powerful, and then of course I think that's pretty much was it with the involvement there, because in the Star Trek series, Star Trek pretty um, much like Star Trek Target had natural powers. He wasn't relying on gadgets, um, but it was a little different. In Brian's case, we I never did get to introduce him as Target in the Star Trek comic series. I never did get to an issue where he was introduced in any of the six Star Striker comics. So yeah, that was kind of a drawback there. Um, he was also introduced at the very end of the second Brown Chronicles book, along with Samuel, Angela, and a new girl, um, Sakura, which I'm don't really think I'm gonna be using Sakura in Yumiko. I highly doubt it because of the characters that I have now. Um, don't really. I'm not sure yet. So yeah. But I do know Brian will be a part of Yumiko. He will be coming later. It'll be after Samuel becomes Star Striker, obviously. So yeah, it's gonna be a while before that. It's gonna be a while leading up to that. Um, Chances are he might be introduced right kind of near when Samuel becomes Star Striker, because um, him finding out about Samuel being Star Striker led to him being Target because he wanted to be his partner and everything. So yeah, when it gets near to that time, yeah, we will be seeing Brian in Yumiko, as well as eventually after him, his debut as Target. So yeah, we'll be getting to that there. And so with all that said, that's pretty much all I got on the history of Brian Valentino Robinson. Yep, that's pretty much it there. Uh, Short and sweet and to the point. So, yeah, say like what you heard in this video, and definitely like, share, subscribe. Leave some comments definitely. Any questions that you might have or something like that, might want to, maybe there might be a little more, maybe something I didn't mention that you want to know about there. Also, definitely buy some of our available comic books, as well as also support us on Patreon, like my boy EJ the Supreme, or be a sponsor like Keon Smith for this month. Still got like I say, as of this video being recorded, there's a few days left in the month there. So, yeah, still, that sponsor's still holding strong till this month is over. Yep, until, or you can do both. And until then, we will see y'all in the next video. Take care, everybody.